change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice.
Welcome to the One Mic, One Voice show, building the collective conscious. Show that's created to give space where your voice, ideas, and informed opinions can be heard, appreciated, and debated. I am Michael Eric Owens, back in the One Mic studio, folks. And let me tell you something. Man, we got an exciting show today. I have been trying to get this brother on for, as we would say in the vernacular, for a minute. He's a busy cat doing great things, and we are fortunate to have him with us here today. And he is Brother Gregory Bennett Jr. He's a highly decorated soldier who has spent nearly 10 years in the military serving our country. He's a military man like me. He is a fighter not only for causes negatively impacting the welfare of veterans, but the welfare of his community as well. He's a son of Kenosha, Wisconsin. He returned to Kenosha when his mother fell ill to take care of her. Upon his return, he saw this great need to help the community on a much deeper level, especially dealing with youth. His passionate goal was and remains letting children, teens, and adults know it's safe to play and enjoy life in Kenosha's Central City parks as he once did without having to fear violence. Out of this passion, folks, get this. He is the founder and he developed Peace in the Streets, a great organization. He nurtured this to fruition and he founded it on May 3rd, 2014. His first event that he had was attended by over 200 children and their families, and get this, peacefully with no violence. As a community leader, he goes beyond the call of duty to assist children, whether they're being bullied, needing direction, etc., helping them find better schools, as well as supporting families in hardship and legal matters. I want to say to my brother Gregory, welcome. Welcome to the One Mic, One Voice show. It's truly a pleasure to have you here on this broadcast. And Doreen has piped in, said, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Doreen and Linda. Arthur Chat is up and working today. These folks definitely are excited to hear from you. Now, you grew up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I would use as a caveat, I believe I got to Kenosha. I'm originally from Milwaukee, came back to teach at Great Lakes, got in Kenosha in 95. And I didn't leave Kenosha until 2008 is when I left. So talk to us about growing up in Kenosha. And this is in the context of Kenosha becoming a nationally known place because of the violence and the riots that took place there. Talk to us about growing up in Kenosha.
automatically systemically based and made, how it's set up for you to fail here, then they ain't gonna care, and they push you to a side. But I enjoyed my childhood because I was a fighter. I was a fighter, and I had old heads. Willie was a USA boxer. He caught me. I got shot. I was 14, and I was jumping the fence. Somebody shot at me, and I got grazed. And then my mom just put me in ballet, boxing, swimming, everything. Right. So she made sure my time was taken up. But Willie had took me to Illinois and put me on the boxing team, and then I ended up getting my Golden Gloves. And then I didn't play basketball to my senior year, and that's when I got a scholarship to go to NYU and play basketball. But I had that Kenosha mentality where it was just like, who are you? I'm a star already. And I ended up coming home and signing up for the military and didn't realize what I had in New York University at the time. But then I ended up getting my degree while I was in the military. So that was a blessing. But Kenosha is just, it's sad, man. It's been that way for a while, but it's so much. I'll put it like this: the sun still shines when it rains, because have-nots know how to make something out of nothing. Like, we used to get in the bottom of the barrel, so it's like we know how to make a party out of something. We know how to stay family oriented. If you run into the Tofries, Bennett's, Lots, Gardners, if you run into the Morrises, if you run into any of these families, them families that take you, them families is gonna show you love. And as long as you showing love, you will get love back, especially when it comes from the have-not community. So I was blessed to
Now, the
to be.
Kenosha community, talk a little bit about the black community there. Is it a large black community? When I was there, it was a small black community. Is it a large black community? And talk about um, the lack of black people in leadership in the higher governing apparatus of Kenosha.
Kenosha is a large African community. It's just that a lot of them are incarcerated, so they get funneled in and out. The fathers do, and the mothers stay working. So you don't see them because they're either CNAs or they're in a factory, or they're some of them are in administrative roles, but a lot of them are just at home being moms, and a lot of them have to do odd end jobs just to get through. But it's a large African community, and then as you saw with the incident, everybody just came out once it happened. Then they started using their voice, but we don't have. As a teacher, you should know, like, it's hard for a person from Kenosha to become a Kenosha school teacher. They don't have a lot of people who look like us in powerful roles. There was one alderman, Anthony Kennedy, and then there's one female alderman, Shayna Griffin, who is, alder woman, and them are the only two people in office. The rest, you either in a factory or you a CNA, and there's a handful of African American teachers. They don't give them the same opportunity as everybody else here.
And what about the pastors? Are the pastors playing a key role in civil rights and social justice in Kenosha?
No. There's three, maybe three. We When we had a 24-hour, we had a 24-hour marathon where we stood outside for 24 hours in solidarity. And then that was the first time I seen a lot of pastors, but they're not pastors that look like us. It was like you had Pastor Kirby. We had the female pastor from Coleman Chapel. She slipped my mind right now. And then you had a Buddhist pastor, which is a Caucasian male. You had Pastor Barker, has been one of our loudest advocates, and he's a Caucasian pastor at the Lutheran Church. But it's only a handful of pastors that's really doing the work. But when it comes to the civil rights and coming to this movement, the pastors are really silent when it comes to that, except for them handful of pastors I just named. Otherwise, you see, Pastor Mitchell is doing good work too, but a lot of them are silent because they have to keep their they have to keep their assets, you know what I'm saying, in their relationships, and it seems like they're really leery. You know what I'm saying? They're literally uncomfortable with trying to even jump in. They don't know who to believe, who not to believe. And Jesse Jackson came down, and then everybody came out. And when Jesse left, everybody disappeared. And it was just like, okay, y'all praying when the camera come, but when the camera leave, you back in your congregation doing Zoom, you know what I'm saying, pastoring and stuff. And it's what happened to the people in the street? What happened to the communities? I don't see a lot of them.
And about and I think you speak to the problem that's happening across our nation, where the pulpit is no longer used in a way that talks about these issues, empower people. Black liberation theology somehow has been lost, and as you put it, the desire to maintain your assets. Talk a little bit about the relationship between the black community and the police officers. Are there many black police officers?
No, you got three police officers. And then when other African Americans that's from here try to get on the force, then they get put through so much red tape and stuff, and they get pushed out the way quick. And that's just what it is. I remember when I first ran for alderman, they thought I didn't have common sense. So what they did was they offered me a job as a police officer, and I said I can't be on city council and be an alderman and still work for the city. You know that. So why would you offer me the job just to get me not to run for office? So they want to puppet master you and be able to control the narrative, and that's something I'm not willing to compromise.
You know, when I was in Kenosha, Kenosha was a place where I was racially profiled in a way that it was the most worst, demeaning position that I've ever been put in by police officers. And I've been put in some pretty bad ones, but this was terrible. Talk about your personal experience with the Kenosha PD.
Well, like I said, in the 90s, like I lived on 42nd. So it was at one point in time, I'm leaving my friend house from the end of the block, and I lived 6 houses up the block. And the police came and they was like, it's curfew. I said, yeah, I live right down here. He said, get in the car. So I get in the car, what's your name? First and last name. Gave my first and last name. They took me to the docks, beat me, and then made me walk back. So the docks is downtown. So now I gotta walk from first all the way to 42nd. You know what I'm saying? So it's 42, you know what I'm saying, blocks. And I'm looking like, okay, whatever. I get home and then I leave, come back from the military. I was out collecting fundraising money for my campaign at the time. And mind you, I got Washington state plates. I still had a Washington driver's license. I ain't really, switched it over yet. My nephew was driving me and they pull us over. They said, we need to take you downtown. I said, for what? He said, we don't have your picture on file. Why would you have my picture on file? I've never committed a crime. What's the issue? Well, you need to come downtown. They cuffed me in front and I filmed my whole way there. You get what I'm saying? On live while I'm while I'm getting took downtown just so they could take a mug shot of me because I wasn't in their database. That the whole Kenosha Police Department, when it comes to certain things, after I started piecing the streets, I started talking to them like my soldiers. So I don't let them control the narrative. They're not in charge at any point in time. You work for me, you work for the people, you know what I mean? And you are supposed to protect and serve. So I hold them to that standard. So when they talk to me, they talk to me with respect because I demand it now. You know what I mean? But growing up, they have that they have that influence and they try to intimidate the community and they hold probation over their head where there's a revocation process even for having contact. So they constantly harass the people that they know that they've been putting in the system since they were at-risk youth. That's what they do here with the youth. They put them in at-risk youth and then they put them in a database. So they're already a part of the system. And that's just the setup for the alley oop.
Are there any black attorneys in Kenosha?
Yes, there's two. Um, one of the other sister, I forgot her name, but I know Angela Cunningham. She's a African American female attorney here who actually ran for congresswoman. Right now, she's running for a judge because, like, she had to bow out the congresswoman's election because, of course, nobody votes. Nobody moved, and she's running for judge right now, circuit court judge, and I'm bagging her on that. She's a great asset. Like, she really does get out there, work. She has great integrity. But if, like, during this time when all this stuff was happening, she usually deals with child stuff, but then she started picking up civil matters because it was like, hold on, nobody's taking their cases, nobody's trying to help them out, but people didn't have the funds to pay. So she wasn't worried. She would just, I'll help you out here, let me help you with the legal advice, let me she she impressed me very much.
Now, what is the population of Kenosha?
I don't know, 151. I couldn't tell you.
So 151, and you're in that vicinity, and you
Hmm.
have two black lawyers.
Yeah, yeah. You lucky you got that. We got three police officers. You know what I'm saying? And you got a handful of teachers. You they letting you know. They let you know off top how they feel.
So how is it how with so few of us in any type of leadership position, and even to help those who are caught up in the legal environment, how are we supposed to bring change in that type of environment?
You got to bring economic power. We got to start purchasing the land. We have to start spending our money where only they will hire us is in leadership roles. We have to take back our votes. We have to put our own in power as far as civil, as far as city council, as far as mayoral, as far as anything when it deals with the city of Kenosha. We have to start purchasing the land, getting these buildings, making sure we build our own schools, making sure we do all that. We have to start from the ground, from grassroots all the way to the top. We have to start putting ourselves, our economic and education has to be our number one focus.
Folks, on the show today with me is Gregory Bennett Jr. He is the community, one of the prominent community leaders in Kenosha, Wisconsin. His organization is called Peace in the Streets. And folks, let me tell you something. When we come back from this break, what I want Brother Gregory to do is to get into the night of the event, the day that Brother Blake was shot, what was going on in Kenosha. And what I wanted him to do was and he did a fabulous job of building this sort of environment, this history, this culture in which this event took place. And so, folks, we're going to go to a break, man. And I believe the brother's going to get a little deeper for us. He already deep, but he going to get a little deeper for us. Folks, we're going to go to this break, and we'll be right back. This is Michael Eric Owens, host of the One Mic, One Voice show. I want to give a shout out to all of our listeners all across the globe. Thank you for your undivided attention and for your conversation. You can catch us every Sunday on YouTube, 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you can also catch us on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, on any one of those lovely, wonderful podcasting platforms you love to listen to. Please always remember, you can change the world. It's your choice. What is a black life to you? Do we matter? Do we deserve a right at the table, the seat at the table, or the head of the table? Who determines the black people's fate? Should that not be in our hands? Should not we be the ones making the decisions that affect our lives? Yeah, I think we should be. We should be. Again, we are honored to have with us today Brother Gregory Bennett Jr. And Brother Greg, I want you to talk about that particular night because we all saw what transpired from a distance, man. The violence, the death, and the videotape of the brother being shot. Talk. What was going on in Kenosha then? What was the reaction? What was your reaction?
I got a phone call. Actually, my little cousin called me, and they had, that's who came up to end up being the organization Black. My cousin Rail had called me, and he was like, "Well, this is what I want to do." I said, "Hold on, what happened?" He was like, "They shot him right," and come to find out, my daughter's mother stays across the street from where Jacob was shot. So my daughter and them is, over there. And then he got shot across the street. And then my cousin Real called me. He said, "Man, well, this is what we trying to do." I said, "No, we need to sit back and plan. You gotta strategically do this. You can't do it like that. Like make sure the community's straight, get everybody home safe." And then we had a further conversation because I know the setups. You get what I'm saying? And I know what they don't want. Because the National Guard come quick, like as far as that. So I know when Marshall comes into effect, what rules we got as soldiers. So it's like, all right, hey, let's think. He said, "Well, we got the block, we got the block, we got the block." And then my cousin Portia was a part of Black too. So they secured the block where shot at. But it felt like all the rage and pain from before Jacob got shot, because Michael Bell was shot and killed here from the police officers. You had all these other people that's been beaten, thrown in jail, and I'm talking about giving them 80 years at the age of 15, over stuff that they ain't even do, and they're just now being released, found because the judges was wrong and they found out they was crooked. So it's like all that pain came out at once. So of course everybody wanted to march. And I didn't get a call. I didn't get out there until I got the call from Bishop because Reverend Jackson had called. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, "All right, what's up?" They was like, "Well, we want you to say something." Because I'm calming the streets down because the streets wanted one reaction. They wanted justice. But it was like, nah, we got to do it right. Otherwise, this is just gonna be bad for everybody. So that's what we did. We started organizing, getting everybody legally, getting their EIN numbers, getting their, 501c4s, 501c3s, everything that they wanted. I made sure they got their paperwork right. But then when Bishop and Reverend Jackson came down, we went out there, we listened, and then the NAAC, because I called, let me backtrack. I called the captain when the first night of the riots went, because I kept seeing threats on Facebook. I said, "Hey, it's people from out of town talking about coming down here burning stuff up. What are you going to do?" Now, this captain, he's like, he's a cat that called me on some Happy Father's Day because I've been on the board with him since like 2014. Like, we got a relationship where it's a relationship, but you still can see the difference. You know what I'm saying? Between his relationships with his counterparts and people in his nationality compared to the relationship between me. You get what I mean? Where it's like, all right, hey, I'm putting this on your front porch. Hey, there's gonna be danger. They're talking about bringing weapons. They're talking about doing this. Oh, it's all right. They're just protecting the businesses. That's when the two dudes got shot. That's when Kyle Rittenhouse had shot the people. But I told him, I said, hey, you should just, if you putting everybody on curfew, that has to include them as well. Why are you only doing it to the youth that's out there just marching peacefully? They only saying they want justice. You get what I'm saying? And you protected the businesses. You're protecting buildings, not the people. So the people was enraged. And after the people got shot, more people came out. And then it was so much pain, like you can hear it. I had 60-year-olds and 70-year-olds come outside and cry and say, it's your turn to finish what we started. And that's where it was like, okay, now I can't go back home. I gotta keep going. And that was from the first week of when he first got shot. And I was introduced to Justin Blake, Jacob Blake's uncle. And I told him, I said, man, I got your back. So I would follow him all the way around. People was looking like, is he security? So, nah, he in my city. If I say I got your back, I'm not gonna walk in front of you. I got your back. You get what I'm saying? So I'm making sure he's safe because I practice my open carry law. You get what I'm saying? So it's like making sure that don't nobody come out sideways and more people get shot. So I would take care of the perimeter. I would take care of the talking and the organizing with the police so they would know our routes. You gotta include them because then they can't say, well, oh, we thought y'all was hostile. You knew we wasn't hostile because I called you and told you the route. I told you we was coming to feed them kids on that block where them buildings was burnt. I told you what we were doing, so you can't say you didn't know. But it was just a lot of pain, especially the first couple weeks. It was a lot of pain, and it was a lot of uncertainty of where this would go because people was like, "Well, why didn't he make a decision yet? Why is he on administrative leave?" And it should have never happened. Rules of engagement for soldiers should be the same as the police. If I shoot somebody, you gonna tell me I broke the Geneva Convention. Well, why it ain't the same for officers when they shooting us in the streets here? Why isn't there rules of engagement and why are you locking us up constantly? But you put them on administrative paid leave.
Talk a little bit about because I know that your own life was in danger. There was threats against you.
Yeah, um, I got a lot of death threats. The FBI actually they attached a team to me. So when they would have death threats, I would actually get the phone call and they would need a rendezvous point, which I would always be like, all right, meet me in the Boys and Girls parking lot. I need somewhere with some light. You ain't fist to I didn't seen too much. I didn't read too much. You ain't fist to put me out there like that. But if I'm gonna go. But it's more or less like, all right, so I would have nobody follow me. But then they would see that I was coming from across the street and they would let me know, hey, don't go home tonight. Don't go home. It made me really understand how Malcolm was feeling. You know, it really made me really understand his noid, his paranoia, and then it made me more cautious of all of my surroundings where I started looking at windows more and rooftops more instead of just eye level. And the FBI was just letting me know what I had, it was militias, it was white supremacists, it was even some other people, like, hey, he's hurting the cause instead of helping the cause. And it was just like, nah, we need to properly plan like everybody else. I mean, proper preparation prevents poor performance. Everybody says a lot of stuff, but they're forgetting the basics. And it's like we have to organize and really do it the right way. Otherwise, they just gonna set us up. They wanted us to be like the people that stormed Capitol Hill. That's what they wanted. That way they could have locked us all up on a majority. Like, oh, we're gonna lock this whole mass body up and we good. That's why they struggling to even find people because everybody that burnt something down in Kenosha came from Illinois or came from somewhere else. You know what I mean? They didn't come from here. We ain't burning up our own stuff. We ain't really trying to tear down the city. We love Kenosha. It's just Kenosha don't love us. And that's just what it was. So the death threats was really it messed up the home life. You know, it messed up a lot of stuff. But at the same time, sacrifices is sacrifices, and that's what this whole thing takes.
You reminded me of what Doc Rivers said. He said, "We keep loving a country that won't love us back." And your words are very powerful in the sense that you love the origin of your birth, but the place of your birth does not reciprocate that sort of love. So you're waiting on the um, the news to come out on what's going to happen to this officer, and then the news comes out. What was it like then?
Anger, but it was like I wasn't surprised. You get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
you they had misquoted in the newspaper where it was like it kind of hurt, but you're not surprised because they've already told you. Like either way, you still a nigga. Like Jay-Z said, you get what I'm saying? Like that's just what it is, and that's how they look at you. But it's like, all right, well, so you telling me he shoots somebody, two of the officers are already back at work. They're already back on the job. This was his seventh offense. He was a bicycle cop, and that was his first week back in the car. And he shoots somebody, and you let him be on administrative leave. So not only did you traumatize them children from shooting that man in the car, and they got mental health issues, now he's paralyzed. Can't even come home because you already tried to try him. So you dangle a plea deal in front of him, and it ain't like he got great representation. So he made the choice that a lot of people make and take the plea. They set him up. It was sad, but at the same time, it just shows the difference. They stormed Capitol Hill. Look how they treated them. Black Lives Matter had a thing out there. Now, granted, I'm not Black Lives Matter. I'm African, everything. You get what I'm saying? I'm not a Marxist. I'm not with none of that. I'm about our people. You when people try to change the narrative and they say Black Lives Matter, no, we're saying Black Lives Matter too. We're not
exactly,
part of the organization. We're just trying to say, hey, African lives in America matter. Start treating us right and stop shooting us. You
absolutely.
trying to put everybody in that group because you've already labeled that group, but you can't do that. You got to actually realize that these people here was marching because it was still African on African violence happening during these protests. It was still police officers beating the week before Jacob Blake got shot. A police officer just shot a dude across the street from Lou Perini's on Sheridan Road. It was other shootings and beatdowns happening this whole time. It's just that when you pulled your phone out, now they rushing you. Before they even get to the nitty gritty, they making sure everybody with a phone is gone. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My little cousin Portia, how they maced her in the face and pepper sprayed her, and you see her pouring milk down her face, and now she on Time magazine. She still is in poverty. The city of Kenosha keeps them in poverty, and if you really want to go somewhere, you got to move outside Kenosha, but stay close enough to Kenosha to matter. It it wasn't surprising, and nobody was surprised, but it showed us that we have to really organize and really write the documentation. We got to put pen to paper and really change these legislatures. We got to change the laws.
So has the what has been the response of the police department, the mayor, the city council? Have they started to talk about some sort of reform or community committees, or what has been the response on behalf of law enforcement and local government?
There's a lot of committees happening right now, right? And I see the thing is that they didn't like is that the major news networks came out. And when they came out, they talked. So we let it known. We let it be known. Like, why is there immunity? Why is there officer immunity? Why is there police immunity? I said, so if I shoot you, I get immunity? No, no, no. So if you hit my little girl and I shoot you, I don't get immunity? I said, oh, okay. I said, well, what, Mayor, what you gonna do? I said, okay, you're incompetent. I'm taking your seat next election. Don't even run again. I let him know that because I'm running 2024. So I told him, don't run again.
Wonderful.
So he came up with a Kenosha Action Roadmap to Inclusion and Equity and Equality Board called Community Police Relations, right? And I had told him, I said, if we don't have a community policed incident review board, just don't run, bro. Don't run because why are we the people? If the police are supposed to protect and serve us, why isn't there people in the community on the incident review board when the police break the law? Why isn't there representation from the community on these boards? So what he did was he took pastors and went to the he went to the cleric, right? They always run to the churches because they're gonna save us. Now, Reverend Peoples is a good pastor. He's a good reverend. He came in, and since he's been here, he's been putting great work in. I didn't mention him earlier, but he's actually on the committee with me as well. But they got to start reaching out to the people that's really in these streets and really in these homes, really like Dr. Dominic Pritchard, who specializes. She's the only African American woman here, mental health psychologist.
Mm.
And they block her. They block her. She trying to get in there. They let her in the prison. They'll let her in the jail, but she won't. Let her inside the school. Let her inside these homes. Let her inside. You know what I mean? But they don't. They got a couple committees. They got that. They got Kenosha Unity Coalition. They got Coalition for Dismantling Racism. They got all this other stuff happening, right? And yet, no law has been changed. Nothing's been introduced. They just tried to sneak past a bill where they were about to spend 4 or 5 million. No, it was 95,000. It was 95,000. My bad. The 4 or 5 millions for the cameras. They tried to spend 45,000 on cameras that scan your license plates as you drive past,
Mm.
and they was gonna have you just we just seeing if the car was registered. You can do that by entering in the computer when you following the person. You trying to scan for something else. Why are you using that money instead of fixing them buildings that's burnt up? Why are you not putting that money toward the funds or donating it to maybe the Blake family for them kids' mental health? Or maybe, the neighborhood that he got shot in is such in ruin, bro. When I say mold, I walked in the apartment building and did a whole segment where the whole building was mold and 10 of those apartments had bed bugs and they never fixed it. Electrical outlets, everything, fire hazards, everything, and nobody does nothing because they have it here where this is a landlord city. There's more laws for the landlords than the actual tenants. So they all these boards and committees, it's like a big resume reading. Half the meeting is introduce yourself. Well, I'm this and this and this and this. And then when you finally get done with the introductions, they be like, all right, well, we was gonna do the agenda, but let's just do a moment of reflection and then do an overview. Nothing was accomplished. It's smoke and mirrors, bro. That's all it is. It's smoke and mirrors. When they actually put something hard, actionable items, I'll definitely let you know. But right now, ain't nothing happening.
It's funny because when you talk about the poverty there, and then I shared with you I grew up in the 53206. You know about the '06 in
Right.
Milwaukee, and but what people say to me, man, like I didn't know there were black people in Wisconsin.
That's the narrative they like to change. But Wisconsin's the number one state in the United States for the incarceration of African American males. Number two is Minnesota. So Jacob Blake gets shot in Wisconsin after George Floyd get killed in Minnesota, the top two states. And it isn't coincidence because Indiana is around the corner from that, and they just opened an all-white church where African Americans not even allowed in the door, and they voted on it. You get what I'm saying? So it's like you really don't understand. Like the reason Kenosha Racing and Milwaukee had to join forces is because we the majority of the African Americans in Wisconsin. That's why we're the highly policed. That's why The 53206, that's why 5314442, all that's why Racine, Kenosha, and Milwaukee gotta unite because we are the pipeline to prison.
That's right.
And until we unite, they gonna put their knee on our neck every chance they get, and they dangle that. And then when you think you gonna organize, they be like, "Hey, you want a job? Well, you do this job, you can't do this type of stuff, right?"
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? So when I was working for the DOC, I worked for DWD, the DOC, all of that. Each time, conflict of interest. DWD was the only people that was like, all right, you can do it on your own time, but you cannot represent the state of Wisconsin. And since then, I was let go. I was let go when we marched a day, 2 days before we marched from Kenosha to Milwaukee. When we walked all the way there,
Mm.
they had let me go.
Mm. Mm.
It's
Wow.
just what it is.
Man, man, you I understand because I'm from where you from, and I know the challenges that you face and the pressure. You have outlined the pressure in trying to make a living and still stand up for social justice. It's almost incompatible in Wisconsin. And so we have this young man come across, murder some people. Um, what do you have any confidence that he will be held accountable?
I don't have confidence in the judicial system. As long as they're holding and he can throw his little signs, and his people took him to a bar in Racine. Mind you, he's from Illinois, but now he's back in Kenosha. He gets to Racine, get to go to a bar, and then an adult can hand a minor a drink, just like an adult can bring a minor across the state lines with a assault rifle, gun down two people, and he still get out. Just like the police officer still on administrative leave. Like, you already telling us and you letting us know what we are to you. We don't matter to you. No, I don't have no confidence and none of that with that. But I have confidence. I have confidence if he reach population,
Mm.
I guarantee I have confidence in the justice system inside them walls. If he get to that point, then yeah, justice should be served. But I don't wish no ill will on a little kid. I just think at the same time, it's a learned behavior. It's a learned pattern. He did something because he knew he'll get away with it. The police officer did something because he knew he'll get away with it. This because history shows, yeah, we're gonna let you get away with it. And that's just what it is. And like you said, like, think about it. The Sheriff Beth said it. He said all of them just having babies. We need to lock them up in warehouses. And then what happened? Amazon and Uline came, and now they all working in
Mm.
warehouses. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I refuse to take the jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm management position. I'm not getting in your warehouse. If I really wanted to do something to amass people, them warehouses is where it's at. I don't trust it. I don't trust it, man. And it's like, you let a kid free when you got teenagers in Milwaukee, you got teenagers in Racine, teenagers, African American teenagers in Kenosha getting locked up in Ryoc and in Wales and everywhere else for little mistakes, for fights in school.
Mm. Mm.
And if you don't get the ticket, your parent get the ticket. So you telling me Rittenhouse just shot somebody and his mama ain't get no ticket?
Mm. Mm.
How that work?
Mm.
Equal opportunity ain't for us. Was it? It was Ad Two said it the best. He said, "You're an African American. You're African without the heritage, and American without the opportunity."
Mm. Mm.
And I just thought that was cold because I'm looking like, hold on, we got the opportunity if we unite together, but we got so much trauma in ourselves where we don't even want to trust each other because it's deep down embedded. Like, too many people done stabbed you in the back. They done locked your pops up. You feel like your pops done abandoned your mom, or your mom then went to this and left you with your pops. It's so deeply rooted. We gotta heal, and we gotta start making the necessary steps. And that's, like I said, Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha, it's all is one. And if people ever think that there's not African Americans in Wisconsin, come visit. Come visit. Visit on a good hot summer day and just walk.
You
Tell me.
know, in the future, I want to have you and a couple leaders, one from Racine and also one from Milwaukee, because we need to uh, highlight this conversation that you're talking about, because that is a major part of the solution, is combining those three highly populated black areas together to unite for the goal of black liberation. I don't want to get off of here until you talk about peace in the streets, man, because I'm excited about that organization and what you're doing. So tell our listening audience what was the vision behind that, and what are you doing in Kenosha right now?
I mean, peace in the streets is basically, it's a conduit for social, transformative, and restorative justice. And the reason I we started Peace in the Streets was, it was my cousin Tonio. We was sitting there at the house, and Renegade, everybody was sitting there like, man, remember we used to play kickball outside? The kids don't even want to go outside no more, man. They just want to stay on the game. But there was just a shooting down the block. And it was just like, I was like, well, we got to do something. Tonio was like, well, let's just throw a barbecue. I said, man, remember kickball games? Let's just do a kickball game and do a barbecue. And then he was like, well, skip it, let's do it. And it was on a Wednesday. So Sunday, we just threw it. And it was like 200 people came out, played kickball, ate, no drama, no nothing. And I was like, see, this is what peace in the streets look like. He was like, well, we got to keep it going. So every Sunday for like 3 months straight, we was just throwing them. And it got to like 500 people, all that. The thing was, is that then we started getting to the legal issues, because people, when they took down the Lincoln basketball courts, because a kid wouldn't pick up the trash the officer had saw. Police officer was like, "Hey, pick up that trash." He was like, "That's not my trash." So he beat him, like
Mm.
beat the kids on the. It's on footage. You can see the stuff online too. Lincoln Park basketball hoops, and you'll see them and all that. So what we did was, I marched. I got a lawyer from Racine. I got me a lawyer. He was a Jewish lawyer from Racine. Walked down to the police department with 90 people and got them released. Now, mind you, these teenagers and adults too, right? But they got released, and we ended up putting it up. So I was like, well, we all die. The goal ain't to live forever, but to create something that will. And if we can create unity and peace within ourselves, within our communities, then we can finish the work that Malcolm and Martin and Dick Gregory and Jim Brown and everybody else started. You know what I'm saying? So, but we got to have peace within our own before we can truly unite, and before we can't say, hey, well, we gonna change this, and we ain't changing home at the same time. So I'm trying to change our blocks, change our narrative, and then empower them, and not only give them the opportunity and space where they can actually flourish. I want to start making it where I'm teaching the kids agriculture. I'm getting the plaza so I can have a fresh market, right? I want to get a plaza so we can, on the left side of the plaza, right, like Nipsey Hussle's plaza, the left side is going to be an agricultural center where kids are going to learn how to plant fruits and vegetables and talk with black farmers and all that. And then next door to that is going to be a fresh market where the kids who grew that can sell their fruits and vegetables inside that market and give them job opportunities where we can do it that way. And then I'm gonna have a job center next to it where we can empower our people and get them certified with credentials. I already have a person willing to sign on with phlebotomy. I have a person to do welding, forklift, and where we can empower them as far as even computer programming. I got VFX, which is a graphic design, who helped do the movie Godzilla versus King Kong. They're willing to, they're picking out 5 kids right now. They're going to start in March, and they're going to actually start teaching them how to do the graphics. how to actually do the special effects, how to create video games. I want to empower them that be in jobs that they thought that was never possible for them to have. And then next to that, we just gonna have more certifications and actual licensing. So if people want to be a owner or want to, bank black, then they know where the resources are. And it's just a lot going through with the making. So I believe, we all die to go ain't to live forever, but to create something that will. And if we can create the narrative and control the narrative, then that's half the battle.
Brother, you make me proud, man. I'm sitting up here smiling, listening to you and all of the hard work you have done. Even going back to the fact, man, I'm a military cat, and I know the sacrifice that it takes. And you was in Iraq, man, and I just, man, thinking about the origin of my birth and knowing that you and others are there, um, making these things happen, standing in the gap, man, just man, on this Sunday morning, man, I could not be more proud than sitting here talking to you. We have a lot of folks that are listening from that are in Oklahoma, and I don't think they realize that black problems are not just Kenosha problems or Oklahoma City problems. We share the struggle throughout the world, diaspora, right?
Definitely.
And if you could give some advice, man, to folks that are listening, not just but to black folks, but also to white folks that are listening, what advice would you give them, keeping in mind that some of our white brothers and sisters are what they call woke now? Their eyes are slightly open. What advice would you give?
I would say if you woke, that's admitting you was asleep, and that's cool, right? So I would tell you to grab counterparts and realize there's a difference between discrimination, racism, and there's a bigger difference between systemic racism. You got to start breaking that down, where because a lot of people think racism is just this. No, systemic racism is where you actually affecting the actual education, the wealth, the job, the opportunities, all the way down and all the way to the prison line. I would say grab and find these grassroots programs and stop having the conversation start off with what's the budget, when and bring something to the table. If it ain't your time, bring money. If it ain't your money, bring resources. I would say instead of just talking and listening, reach out and help them, because they really just feel like they got to do it on their own. So sometimes they won't ask for it. You really got to go out there and put in the footwork with them and actually help them out with resources and knowledge, because the greatest knowledge worth having is the knowledge worth sharing. And if you have the knowledge and you're not sharing it, then you're the fool. So I feel like you got to do that. And I would always tell you, reach one, teach one. You know some friends out there that ain't woke, teach them, because the stronger we grow in numbers, the more unity we have across the board, from Caucasian, brown, black, everybody together, the stronger we'll be. And we need to unite all the way across the United States in order for this to happen, because as you saw, the ex-president, his goal was to divide
Mhm.
and conquer, and it made us look weak as a country. If I was China or Russia, I would have planned to ran dawn at that time. You get what I'm saying? So it was like we were so divided where we wouldn't stand and protect our own country. So it's more or less like I would say we need to unite, because it's time now that we actually finish the civil rights movement. And it's bad that we still have to have a movement where people will be civil. The word civil is so deep where it's like, yo, you don't even want equal, you just want it to be civil. You get what I'm saying? Like we had equal rights, but it ain't happened. Civil rights came, and it's like, oh man, civil. We need to unite and actually bring the resources and start reaching these children and giving them the game, because you can't pass, and something can happen to you. So you need to give that knowledge to another person.
Brother, there are so many. I told you this hour was gonna go by quick. There are so many things, man, that I want to talk to you about, man. I have to have you back on the show, just you, to come back on and sit down and have another conversation with us. Would you do that for me, brother?
Definitely, anytime.
Folks, this is what I want you to recognize is that we do have great leaders. People say, well, the black community, we ain't got no. You looking at the wrong people. We have black leaders across this country, like Brother Gregory, that are doing things in locations that are making a difference, that are changing people's lives. We may not see the immediate results, but let me tell you something. All it takes sometimes is one person. One person can change Dr. King, Malcolm X, Gandhi. I can go on, Mother Teresa. We can go on and on. One person can do it. And, Kenosha is not unlike Oklahoma City and other places where we are trying to, for once, take our rightful seat. Our seat, the Constitution says our seat is there. We citizens, are we not? And so we're trying to get in the seat, but those that are trying to prevent us from being in the seat. And what I'm going to do is just give my brother just a few minutes if there's some parting words you want to leave us with, brother.
I ran for alderman, 6,100 people inside the district. Only 171 voted total. Use your voting power, not just for presidential elections. Use it for your city council. Use it for county boards. Use it for, school districts. Use your voting power and grab the youth and just realize that we are all human and we are all under the same sun. And we need to come to a compromise and find unity and peace. And I'm praying for all y'all out there.
Because history will speak of us. Somewhere in the distant future, a scribe will reach down deep into the archives of our time. And what will she find? Will she discover that we overcame our differences? Will she find that out of many, we became one? Or will she find that we solved nothing and remain a divided peoples? Yes, history will speak of us.
You can change the world, it's your choice.
We can make a difference if we try. We can be the change that's in our lives. All we gotta do is work together. We gotta raise our children better. We gotta stop the hate, and spread the love.
One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice. One mic, one voice. You can change the world, it's your choice.
Thank you for downloading the One Mic, One Voice show. Take a moment and subscribe and share. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platform. Thank you for your continued support and for your voice. You can change the world. It's your choice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on the One Mic, One Voice show are not the views, thoughts, and opinions of our sponsors.